In the heart of the city's cold industrial maze, rescue workers followed a faint, desperate cry. And there, hidden between rusted containers, was a trembling bobcat cub, so fragile it barely clung to life. They called him Kiko, but no one could have imagined that this tiny creature would walk straight into the cage of Havenwood's most broken soul, Luna, a white tigress who hadn't shown a trace of affection in 5 long years. What happened next would silence an entire room of experts and change the world forever. Before we dive in, hit like, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story like this. The industrial zone never really sleeps, not in this corner of Chicago. Even at midnight, steel containers stand like tired giants under harsh floodlights, their rusted bodies pressing shadows into the cracked concrete. There's a hum of distant trucks, the faint tang of gasoline, and somewhere, a stray newspaper flutters across the ground, forgotten by morning. But tonight, it's not the wind or the city's heartbeat that shatters the silence. It's something softer, something almost too small to notice. A thin, desperate cry. A sound so weak that at first, it could be mistaken for a squeaky hinge or the mewl of a lost kitten hiding under a loading ramp. But then it comes again, fragile, higher-pitched, raw with fear. It slices through the metal coldness and lands trembling at the feet of 2 figures moving quietly between the containers. Ben Carter, shoulders hunched against the cold, stops mid-step. He's a big man with gentle hands, the kind who carries every rescue home in his memory. Beside him, Dr. Anya Sharma holds a flashlight, scanning the darkness, lips pressed into a tight, worried line. They're both part of the Havenwood Sanctuary rescue team, and both know that when a cry like that pierces a city's belly, it's never by accident. Ben crouches, letting the beam of his light sweep low, following the echoes. That's when he sees it. A huddle of mottled fur, barely more than a fistful, shivering behind a torn crate. Mud sticks to the animal's coat, masking its true color. But then a pair of amber eyes catches the light, wide, wild, and somehow unbroken. A bobcat cub, no more than 3 or 4 months old, ribs showing, fur matted with oil and grime. He's pressed so hard into the corner it's as if he's trying to disappear into the concrete itself. Yet even as Ben reaches out, the cub's eyes never leave his face, watchful, quivering with a mixture of terror and thin, desperate hope. Carefully, Ben unwraps a faded blanket, whispering the way you do to frightened things. "Easy now, little guy. We've got you. You're safe, I promise." The words are for both of them. Dr. Sharma watches every movement, her experience scanning for injuries. One look and she knows, malnourished, dehydrated, shrunken almost to nothing by hunger and fear. She slides a gloved hand gently under the cub's chest. The heartbeat is rapid, frantic, but steady. For a moment, her fingers pause, feeling the tiny creature's ribs, counting them like beads, each one a silent story of survival. They move fast. The cub is cocooned in warmth, his little nose peeking from the folds as they hurry him into the rescue van. The city's lights blur past, each red and green streak reflected in the cub's wide, unblinking eyes. He doesn't make a sound, but his gaze holds Ben's in the rearview mirror, as if to ask, what happens now? Havenwood Sanctuary sits on the edge of the city, a patch of wild green carved from concrete and memory. The gates swing open with a whine as Ben guides the van down the long drive. By the time they arrive, The first hints of dawn are scratching at the horizon. Dr. Sharma lifts the box and steps into the medical wing, where the hush is broken only by the steady beeping of monitors and the shuffle of night shift shoes. Ben stands by as she works, her hands swift but gentle. Hydration, glucose, a soft towel under the heat lamp. The cub doesn't resist, but his eyes flick to every movement, always on alert. He is, she notes quietly, not just physically wounded. His soul has been scraped raw. After a long moment, Dr. Sharma turns to Ben. Healing his body is important, but healing his soul may matter even more. Her voice is low, almost reverent. She looks down at the little bobcat, at the flicker of will that refuses to die in those golden eyes. Outside, the city stirs awake. Somewhere, a siren wails, chasing away the night. But inside Havenwood, a promise has been made. A fragile, trembling life will be given a second chance. And as the first light touches the cub's fur, Ben leans closer, whispering a name that just feels right. Kiko, he says, his voice barely more than a breath. The bobcat blinks, and for the briefest moment, the shiver in his body is stilled, not by warmth or medicine, but by hope. At the farthest edge of Havenwood Sanctuary, past the rows of rehab pens and quiet medical wards, stands the largest enclosure, a kingdom made of shadows and borrowed wilderness. Here the trees are tall and the undergrowth thick, sunlight dappling through mesh and pine. But there's a stillness in the air, a silence so deep it swallows the distant calls of the other rescued animals. It's as if the world has been put on pause. On a granite outcropping, half hidden by wild grass, a shape glows pale against the stone. She's motionless, her body long and powerful, draped in a coat of white so bright it almost seems unnatural. Black stripes cut sharply across her fur, but her blue eyes, cold as Arctic lakes, stare not at the world around her, but through it. This is Luna, the sanctuary's most haunting resident. The ice goddess, as some call her. But even that title feels too grand for such a hollow life. Ben pauses at the enclosure's edge, arms crossed, watching her. The new volunteer, nervous and eager, stands beside him. "Is she always like that?" he whispers. Ben's gaze never leaves Luna. "Since the day she arrived," he says quietly. "She was taken from her mother as a cub, raised for the spotlight, circus tricks, bright lights, crowds screaming. She learned early that pain comes quick, and mercy never comes at all." He remembers the day Luna first arrived, the scars running along her ribs, faded but forever. The way she refused food for days, flinched at any sudden movement, eyes fixed always on something no one else could see. Even now, years later, she hasn't joined the other tigers. She doesn't roar or play or greet the caretakers at feeding time. She lies atop her rock, queen of nothing, ruler of her own silent, icy exile. Inside her enclosure, the breeze stirs, rustling the grass. Luna doesn't react. Not to the birds pecking in the dirt, not to the far-off clang of a gate. Only her eyes move, slowly, as if underwater, tracking the shifting patterns of sunlight. There's a beauty in her, yes, a majestic power. But it's frozen in place, unreachable, wrapped in armor forged by loneliness and loss. Sometimes when the moon is full and the sanctuary is quiet, Ben swears he sees her lift her head, blue eyes wide, nostrils flaring as if she's scenting for someone she'll never find. On nights like that, even the other tigers keep their distance. The air turns colder around Luna, and the world seems smaller, more fragile. "She's a living statue," Ben murmurs, mostly to himself, "locked in a prison no one else can see." The volunteer nods, eyes wide, awed and saddened by the truth of it. From her rock, Luna gazes outward, unmoving, unmoved. Yet deep inside her, far beneath scar and silence, a single spark remains. But for now, she is content to vanish into stillness, unseen, untouched, a goddess forgotten by all but memory and moonlight. Days pass in a gentle rhythm at Havenwood, but for Kiko, every minute is new, too big, too bright. Inside the warmth of his medical pen, he's safe, fed, cared for, surrounded by soft towels and the low hum of distant voices. Yet the world outside the glass seems to call him, restless, urgent, whispering in scents and shifting shadows. Kiko's strength grows quickly. His eyes, once dulled by fear, sharpen with curiosity. Each day, he tests the limits of his little world, paws against the glass, nose pressed to the vents, claws scraping at the edges of the metal tray. Even the smallest flicker of movement draws him near. He chases the play of light on the floor, stretches long to bat at dust motes, climbs as high as his aching muscles allow. He is small, but inside him stirs a wild, ancient hunger for freedom. One afternoon, the familiar sound of wheels on linoleum signals Ben's arrival. A food cart, stainless and rattling, heavy with bowls of kibble and warm formula, rolls to a stop. Ben hums softly as he opens the pen, not noticing the way Kiko's eyes narrow, tracking every motion. The moment the door swings wide, Kiko acts. Lightning quick, a blur of spotted fur. He darts low, slips between Ben's boots, and with a single leap, wedges himself beneath the cart's lowest shelf. Hidden in shadow, heart thundering, he presses flat, tail curled tight against his body. Ben, distracted by a ringing phone, never notices. A game, Kiko thinks. A secret mission only he understands. The cart moves, wheels squealing, out of the medical wing and down the tiled hallway. Kiko clings to the cool metal, whiskers trembling with excitement and fear. The scents change. Antiseptic gives way to fresh-cut grass, to animal musk, to the earthy tang of mulch and water. Every turn brings a new sound. Birds calling, wind rattling the mesh, distant laughter. Kiko's world expands with every lurch and bump. Finally, the cart slows and stops near the prep area, close to the great enclosures. Kiko's nose twitches, overwhelmed by a scent older and stronger than any he's known. The air is heavy, electric. He slips out, paws silent on concrete, body low to the ground. Ahead, a service door gapes open, just enough for a small body to pass through. Behind him, staff hurry about their routines, oblivious. Inside the medical wing, a nurse checks Kiko's pen and freezes. The cub is gone. Alarms ring, radios crackle, panic spirals outwards in waves. Staff fan through the sanctuary, calling, searching, fearing the worst. But Kiko, lost in wonder and newness, has already crossed an invisible threshold. Inside the enclosure, the world feels vast and wild. He sniffs the grass, brushes past a cold boulder, and then stops, sensing, somehow, that he is not alone. In that suspended breath between danger and discovery, the smallest of lives has wandered into the domain of a legend. The prep area hums with morning routine. Hoses spraying, buckets clanging, radios squawking updates across the grounds. Yet inside Luna's enclosure, time itself seems to slow. Sunlight spills in muted stripes through mesh, catching dust motes that swirl in the stillness. Nothing moves, save the long, white shape curled on the high rock. Luna, remote and silent, the ice goddess lost in her own endless winter. But today, something shifts. A new scent drifts on the breeze, sharp, wild, uncertain. Luna's ears twitch, almost imperceptibly. Down below, from behind the shadow of a half-closed service door, a small shape emerges. Kiko creeps forward, paws tentative on the soft grass, every muscle tense with anticipation and dread. His nose twitches, senses flooded by the scent of predator, yet some hidden thread draws him closer. The entire sanctuary seems to hold its breath. From the control room, staff freeze as the security feed crackles to life. A tiny bobcat cub, out of place, out of time, wandering straight into the domain of a predator who has never welcomed another soul. Ben's heart slams in his chest as he sees the image flicker on the monitor. Sharma stands motionless, lips parted, unable to look away. Somewhere, a radio squawks for backup, but no one moves, no one dares. Kiko pauses at the edge of the rock, golden eyes wide, fur standing in jagged peaks along his spine. He could run. He should run. Instead, he lifts his head and lets out the thinnest of squeaks, raw, innocent, completely unafraid. Above him, Luna shifts for the first time in hours. Her blue eyes blink, focusing, adjusting, piercing the air between them. A hush falls over the staff. Every eye is on the screen, waiting for the old story to play out. Predator meets prey. Pain follows wonder. But something else happens. Luna inhales slowly, chest rising and falling. For the first time in 5 years, she makes a sound, a soft, deep chuff, rolling gently from her throat. It is not a threat, not even a warning. It is a greeting, a wordless invitation. The entire room stills, as if the world itself has stopped to listen. Kiko inches forward, drawn by a pull older than fear. The distance shrinks until only a breath remains between them. Luna leans down, her head impossibly massive beside the trembling cub. Her nose brushes the air, tasting his scent. For one suspended heartbeat, predator and prey share the same fragile silence. Then, Luna settles back, watching, unblinking. She allows Kiko to remain. There is no lunge, no roar, only an impossible quiet. The old rules bend and blur. A miracle slips quietly into the space where danger should have lived. Behind the glass, the staff cannot believe what they've witnessed. Ben exhales shakily, shoulders slumping with a relief he doesn't understand. Dr. Sharma wipes her eyes, a slow, reverent smile blooming across her face. No one speaks. No one dares to break the spell. Inside the enclosure, Luna closes her eyes, not in dismissal, but in something softer, trust, perhaps, or the first faint memory of hope. Kiko, emboldened, curls beside her rock, just out of reach, but closer than anyone has dared in years. The impossible has happened. In the coldest corner of the sanctuary, the first crack appears in the ice. The days that follow seem touched by quiet wonder. At first, no one at Havenwood dares to hope the miracle will last. Yet each morning, Luna allows Kiko to approach, her eyes tracking his every move. Not with suspicion, but with a wary patience. She never chases him off, never bares her teeth. Instead, she watches, sometimes with a faint curiosity, as the tiny cub explores her world. Kiko, for his part, acts as if he's always belonged. He pounces on tufts of grass, bats at the ends of Luna's sweeping tail, and tries, often unsuccessfully, to scale the low stones at her side. There are moments when Luna, catching sight of his struggle, will lower her great head and nudge him gently upward, as if reminding herself what it means to care. For staff and visitors alike, the change is electric. Ben lingers at the glass, holding his breath as he watches the pair, one massive, one miniature, navigate the strange new rules of trust. Dr. Sharma records hours of footage, heart swelling each time Luna lifts a heavy paw to brush away leaves near Kiko's resting spot, or allows him to press close against her flank. Sometimes, under the lazy warmth of afternoon light, she even grooms his matted fur with careful, practiced strokes, each touch an echo of a memory she'd thought forever lost. But healing is never simple, never without its shadows. One afternoon, Kiko, caught up in play, tumbles awkwardly and lands with a thud against Luna's side. His tiny claws, unsheathed, scrape across a patch of pale, puckered skin, a scar that runs the length of her ribs, half hidden beneath her white coat. The change is instant. Luna freezes, her whole body rigid. The air thickens, every sound in the sanctuary seeming to fall away. For a breathless second, only the wild drum of Kiko's heart can be heard. Then Luna roars. The sound tears through the enclosure, deep, primal, raw. Kiko flattens himself to the earth, every inch of his small frame trembling. The staff behind the monitors go rigid, fearing the worst. For Luna, old pain and memory battle with the fragile present. Her muscles tense, claws flex, eyes flashing with something ancient and wounded. But then, slowly, the storm recedes. Luna inhales, long and shaky. The rage flickers, then dims, replaced by a searching confusion. She lowers herself to the grass, head bowed, eyes softening. Inch by inch, she moves closer, and with a gentleness that seems to cost her everything, nudges Kiko with her nose. An apology, simple and true. Kiko doesn't run. He looks up, wide-eyed, and leans into her touch. Luna closes her eyes, breathing in the cub's scent, letting his small, stubborn warmth quiet the ghosts inside her. In that moment, something is proven, not just to the staff, but to Luna herself. Compassion, hard won, has triumphed over pain. For the first time, healing moves in both directions. The sanctuary, for a brief time, floats on hope. But behind closed doors, the miracle between Luna and Kiko is far from settled. In a small, windowless meeting room, the staff gathers around a flickering screen as Dr. Anya Sharma prepares her case. Footage from the enclosure fills the air. A white tigress grooming a frail bobcat cub, their bodies pressed together beneath the dappled light. Some in the room watch with awe, others with doubt sharpening their eyes. Dr. Sharma stands at the head of the table, calm but urgent. She points to the images, her voice steady. This is cross-species healing. Kiko has awakened something in Luna, her maternal instincts, long buried under pain. He's not just surviving, he's helping her remember what it means to care, to trust. At the far end of the table, David Warren shifts in his chair. The executive director's face is carved from stone, every line drawn by years of caution and protocol. He interrupts, voice clipped, eyes narrowed. Let's not turn this into a fairy tale, Dr. Sharma. What you call healing, I call a ticking time bomb. Instinct is instinct. You can't trust a tiger to forget what she is. The words hang heavy in the air. Ben, seated beside Dr. Sharma, clenches his fists beneath the table. He's seen the change himself. Luna's softness, Kiko's blossoming spirit, the fragile bridge built between them. He wants to shout that it's real, that something extraordinary is unfolding in plain sight. Instead, he speaks low, choosing his words carefully. I know the risks, but I've seen what's possible when we trust a wounded animal's capacity to heal. Tension tightens around the table. Some council members nod, swayed by the footage and Ben's quiet conviction. Others side with Warren, voices tinged with fear, of lawsuits, of disaster, of headlines they'd never live down. Outside, the autumn wind rattles the windows, branches tapping like nervous fingers. In Luna's enclosure, Kiko naps curled against her flank, unaware that his future hangs by a thread spun in a room of anxious humans. The meeting drags late into the night. Science and instinct clash. Logic and hope collide. Dr. Sharma presents data, research, stories from other sanctuaries, examples of bonds formed in impossible places. Warren counters with policy, with grim statistics and the memories of tragedies that began as beautiful exceptions. When the meeting ends, no decision has been made. The staff file out, voices hushed, carrying the weight of what they've seen and what they fear. The sanctuary feels colder, shadows longer in the empty halls. But as Ben passes the glass that looks into Luna's world, he pauses. On the far side, beneath the moonlight, he sees Luna awake, eyes open, a watchful calm in her posture. Kiko stirs beside her, tiny and trusting. In the stillness, Ben finds a spark of faith that logic can't extinguish. Conflict has come to Havenwood. In the days ahead, the bond between predator and cub will face its greatest test, not from tooth or claw, but from the doubt and fear of those meant to protect them. The debate over Luna and Kiko settles over Havenwood like a brewing storm, tense, electric, with no easy answers in sight. The council remains deadlocked, arguments replaying in hushed corners and shadowed hallways. Staff tread carefully, avoiding glances, their hearts caught between hope and fear. But outside, nature stirs in her own language. Thick clouds gather above the sanctuary, choking the last light from the sky. Air presses heavy against the windows. A storm is coming. As dusk sinks into night, rain lashes the roofs, drumming a relentless rhythm across the compound. Lightning splits the darkness, followed by thunder that shakes glass in its frame. In most enclosures, animals retreat to the safety of shelter, hiding from the chaos of the world. But in Luna's domain, the wildness is close, too close for comfort. On the security monitors, Kiko's small form is barely visible. He darts through the grass, eyes wide, fur soaked and slicked to his thin frame. Every rumble of thunder sends him spinning in tight, frantic circles. Fear pulses off him in waves, fear that's bigger than cages, bigger than hunger. In this moment, he is nothing but a shivering scrap of life, adrift in a world too large and loud to bear. The staff in the control room freeze, hands tightening on radios. For all their planning and care, nothing could have prepared them for this. On one monitor, Luna stands in the doorway of her den, massive and regal, watching the storm. Her gaze finds Kiko, lost, desperate, too small for the wild. No one speaks. Even Warren, arms folded, mouth drawn in a hard line, can't look away. The room is silent, save for the low growl of wind and the shuddering thrum of the storm. Then, without hesitation, Luna steps into the rain. She crosses the muddy yard in 3 powerful strides, body cutting through the tempest like a ship through waves. Kiko freezes as she approaches, terrified, uncertain. But Luna does not roar. She lowers herself beside him, curling her body to shield him from the biting wind, pressing her warmth into his trembling side. She growls softly, not a warning, but a comfort, a promise. The cub presses closer, safe beneath the arch of her body. For a moment, the storm is outside, and here, within her shelter, the world grows still. Back in the control room, the staff say nothing, overcome by what they witness. Even Warren, confronted by truth raw and undeniable, feels something inside him bend. By morning, the vote is unanimous. Luna and Kiko will remain together, in a new home built for both. Compassion, forged in thunder and fear, has outlasted even the fiercest doubts. And outside, the first pale rays of dawn break through the clouds, painting the sanctuary gold. Inside Luna's enclosure, 2 lives, once lost, now found, rest side by side, braver for having weathered the storm together. With the storm behind them and the council's decision made, a quiet energy sweeps through Havenwood. For weeks, Luna and Kiko's unlikely bond has hung in the air, fragile, miraculous, impossible to ignore. Now, at last, the staff move with new purpose. Where once there was doubt, now there is resolve. If a white tigress and a broken bobcat can find safety together, so can the people who watch over them. Plans for their shared home come to life on whiteboards and blueprints scattered across office tables. Architects and keepers huddle late into the night, sketching out waterfalls, groves of willow trees, high caves warmed by the sun, cool burrows hidden beneath mossy logs. Every detail is imagined for the comfort and freedom of 2 animals who have taught the world a different kind of bravery. Ben works longest, sleeves rolled, hands streaked with mud and graphite. He lingers over every corner, every shaded nook, determined to create a space where neither Luna nor Kiko will ever again feel caged. Even Dr. Sharma, who has seen so much heartbreak softened by hope, finds herself smiling as she walks the empty plot where construction will begin. Staff who once argued now swap ideas, pushing wheelbarrows, laying stones, planting saplings with careful hands. At the edge of every meeting stands David Warren. He is quieter now, his sternness softened at the edges. In private, he studies the safety protocols, double-checks barriers and escape routes, suggests reinforced viewing platforms. His voice, once bristling with doubt, is measured, almost gentle, as he asks, "How do we make sure they both have space to be themselves? How do we give them a choice?" The answer comes not from science or policy, but from watching Luna and Kiko day by day. Sometimes Luna disappears into the shaded groves, leaving Kiko to prowl the edges alone, testing his strength, climbing higher with each try. Other days, she lets him rest in the curve of her flank, eyes half closed as he dozes in the comfort of her warmth. Their needs are simple, yet endlessly profound. Freedom, trust, a place to belong. The project gains a name, Project Hope. Word spreads quickly through the city and beyond. Volunteers sign up, donations trickle in, then pour. Families come on weekends to watch the sanctuary rise from mud and timber. Children draw pictures of tigers and bobcats, taping them to the fence in bright, crooked rows. Something is happening here. Something larger than one storm or one unlikely friendship. For a while, work consumes everyone, muscles aching, boots caked in earth, hearts beating in quiet rhythm with a new dream. The world outside keeps spinning, but inside Havenwood, a home is being built. Not just for Luna and Kiko, but for everyone who believes that love can change even the deepest scars. And as the first arch of the new enclosure is raised, morning sunlight spills across the grass, bright, clean, full of promise. In that golden light, Luna stands tall, Kiko at her side, watching as their future is assembled piece by careful piece. The story of Luna and Kiko does not stay within Havenwood's fences. As construction for their new home rises, so too does word of what's happened here. A white tigress, broken by years of cruelty, finding peace with a tiny wildcat who refused to give up. News travels fast. First, it's a feature on a local reporter's blog, then a photo in the city paper. Luna, majestic and gentle, sheltering Kiko from a pounding storm. The image leaps from screen to screen, crossing continents overnight. Social media seizes the moment. Videos of Luna grooming Kiko, or the two of them lying pressed together in the soft grass, flood timelines and group chats. Children beg their parents to show them the tiger and her kitten. Volunteers arrive in greater numbers, hoping to witness the miracle for themselves. Letters, emails, hand-drawn cards begin arriving by the hundreds. Some are addressed to Luna, some to Kiko, most to the humans who cared enough not to look away. But it isn't just the public that's moved. At a major animal welfare conference, Dr. Sharma takes the stage to speak. She stands before rows of scientists and activists, faces lit by screens and skepticism, and shares footage from Havenwood. There is no need for explanation. The images speak for themselves. She pauses on a frame of Luna shielding Kiko from the storm, her body curved protectively around him, the world falling away. Dr. Sharma lets the silence settle, then says quietly, "We forget, sometimes, that love itself is instinct." Luna reminded us. The room is silent. Then a wave of applause ripples out, slow and gathering force. Afterwards, experts approach her, their voices hushed with wonder and questions. What changed in Luna? Why didn't instinct win out? What does this mean for animals like her everywhere? Donations pour in from around the globe. Dollars, yen, euros, scribbled notes promising more. Sanctuary phones ring day and night. Someone from Australia wants to start a similar project. A school in Norway sends a quilt, each patch stitched with a bobcat's paw or a tiger's stripe. The story spreads further, picked up by international outlets, translated into languages Ben can't even read. Back at Havenwood, the atmosphere changes. Staff move lighter on their feet. Visitors linger longer at the viewing windows. Kids press their palms to the glass, wide-eyed, as Luna and Kiko prowl their half-finished world. Sometimes, when the crowd falls quiet, you can hear the soft chuff of a tiger, no longer a sound of warning, but one of welcome. And still, through it all, Luna and Kiko remain unchanged by fame. In the hush of evening, long after the last guest has gone, the tigress settles beneath her favorite tree, the cub tucked into the warmth of her side. The world may be watching, but for them life is simple. Shared sunlight, quiet breaths, a home built by hope and courage. The morning of the inauguration arrives quietly, golden and cool. Sunlight spills across the sanctuary grounds, picking out dew on new grass and casting long shadows behind freshly planted trees. There is a sense of promise in the air, something gentle, reverent, as staff and visitors gather at the edge of the new enclosure. The final gate slides open with a soft hiss. Ben stands just inside, hands at his sides, heart hammering with the weight of all that has led to this day. Luna is the first to step forward. She moves with regal ease, white coat gleaming in the morning light, her head high, eyes clear. At her side, Kiko bounds ahead, tail straight up, fur shining with health and a kind of joy that had seemed impossible only months before. The new habitat stretches before them, a living world crafted with patience and care. There are pools of clean water, sun-warmed rocks, shaded groves thick with wildflowers. Hidden paths snake between ferns and high grass. Every corner is built for comfort and freedom. Space to wander, space to rest, space to choose. For Luna and Kiko, this is more than a home. It is a promise kept, a dream once impossible now made real. Kiko wastes no time exploring, nose pressed to the ground, darting between trees and leaping over low stones. He stops often to glance back at Luna, seeking her approval, her presence, the anchor to his bold adventure. Luna follows, her movements slow, almost ceremonial. She pauses at the water's edge, dipping a paw, then lifts her face to the sun and closes her eyes, just for a moment, as if to let the warmth soak all the way through. The crowd outside falls quiet, caught in the hush that only awe can bring. For the first time in years, Luna does not look through the people or past them. She sees them. There's a softness in her gaze, a recognition, an acceptance not just of this place but of herself. The ice has melted. As afternoon drifts into evening, golden light slants low across the grass. Kiko, tired from the day's discoveries, finds Luna resting in a bed of clover beneath the wide arms of an oak. He curls into her side, head tucked under her chin. Luna lowers her head and breathes in his scent, rumbling a contented chuff that echoes through the dusk. At the viewing window, Ben finds himself lost for words. The journey has not been easy. Pain, fear, and doubt have shadowed every step. Yet here, in the quiet glow of sunset, everything hard has become soft. Everything broken has been made new. They say instinct never changes, he murmurs, more to himself than anyone else. But they're wrong. Love is instinct too, and sometimes it's the strongest one of all. Night falls gentle over Havenwood. In the shelter of their shared home, Luna and Kiko sleep, safe, whole together at last. Their story, echoing far beyond these walls, remains a testament. Where compassion leads, healing follows, and even the wildest hearts can find their way home.